Whether we label it an intellectual shortcoming or a mere lapse in judgment, Bonhoeffer argues that stupidity is not just a minor flaw. It is a profound, destructive social force, one far more perilous than evil itself. He posits that stupidity is an active resistance to critical thinking, a deliberate refusal to scrutinize one's actions, ideas, and their consequences. Unlike evil, which, although abhorrent, can be confronted and contained through reason, stupidity defies intellectual engagement, rejecting awareness, self-correction, and transformation. Bonhoeffer's perspective draws a clear line between ignorance and stupidity. While ignorance may arise from a mere absence of knowledge, stupidity represents a deeper, entrenched unwillingness or inability to consider new ideas, facts, or viewpoints. Stupid individuals do not merely lack knowledge, they obstinately reject the possibility of learning and evolving. Clinging to unexamined beliefs, they shun intellectual challenges that might force them to confront uncomfortable truths. Thus, stupidity is not simply a void of thought. It is an outright refusal to think critically, making it an insidious, self-perpetuating force. This dangerous mindset reached its most chilling expression in historical authoritarian regimes, most notably during the rise of Nazism. Bonhoeffer observed firsthand how the passive compliance of ordinary citizens became a key pillar of the regime's success. The refusal to engage critically or question authority allowed the Nazi system to execute atrocities on a scale that defies comprehension. It wasn't the overt malice of the individuals involved that proved destructive, but rather their numb acceptance of a moral and intellectual void. People, driven by deep-seated passivity, let themselves be drawn into the regime's simplistic and dangerous narrative without question. Central to Bonhoeffer's theory is the relationship between power and stupidity. He notes that those who gain authority often become less inclined to challenge conventional thinking. Power structures reinforce conformity and punish independent thought. Leaders frequently surround themselves with advisors who echo their own biases, thereby creating a self-sustaining cycle of ignorance. As a result, those in power may grow increasingly self-unaware and resistant to alternative viewpoints, favoring uncritical obedience over rational debate. In this dynamic, stupidity becomes a formidable tool in the perpetuation of oppression and injustice. The real peril lies not in overt malice, but in the inability or unwillingness to engage with complexity, challenge their own actions, or question the status quo. Bonhoeffer's paradox reveals a grim truth. Those who are stupid, especially when they hold authority, can be far more dangerous than those who act out of sheer malice. Their mindless obedience to authority, reluctance to question, and resistance to intellectual growth render them potent agents of social and political ruin. In an era when critical thinking and self-reflection are increasingly undervalued, his insights serve as a stark warning about the corrosive power of stupidity and its profound societal consequences. Hannah Arendt, a German-American political theorist, expanded on Bonhoeffer's ideas by introducing the notion of the banality of evil. For Arendt, the greatest threat in modern society does not necessarily emanate from monstrous, malicious individuals, but rather from the ordinariness of those who commit unspeakable acts without a second thought. Her analysis of Adolf Eichmann during the Nuremberg trials shifted the focus from inherent malice to the alarming capacity of regular people to become instruments of evil through unthinking obedience and a lack of critical engagement. Arendt argued that Eichmann, a principal architect of the Holocaust, was not inherently evil. Rather, he was a bureaucrat who lacked the capacity for moral reflection, following orders without regard for human cost. This banality did not diminish his responsibility, but highlighted how modern evil can flourish not only through deranged individuals, but also through those who fail to think critically about their roles in larger systems. Arendt's concept deeply resonates with Bonhoeffer's theory. It underscores the danger of passivity and conformity, a mindset that fuels thoughtless obedience driven by stupidity rather than malicious intent. Econ's failure to question his actions or reflect on their consequences exemplifies the extent of intellectual and moral paralysis that can result from rejecting critical thought. This very passivity allowed Econ to become a key figure in one of history's most horrific regimes. Moreover, Arendt suggests that modern societies are especially vulnerable to such thoughtlessness, as overwhelming pressures to conform and obey authority create fertile ground for propaganda and manipulation. Totalitarian regimes exploit this vulnerability by controlling the flow of information and reducing complex issues to binary choices, effectively molding a populace that accepts their actions uncritically. In doing so, ordinary citizens transform into agents of tyranny, not through active malice, but via intellectual inertia and an inability to scrutinize the world around them. Arendt's insights thus call us to resist conformity and challenge the systems of power that shape our lives. They remind us that evil often thrives in the absence of reflective thought, and that our moral judgment hinges on our willingness to think critically about our world. Bertrand Russell, one of the foremost philosophers of the 20th century, was similarly troubled by the intellectual trends of his time, particularly society's tendency to reward ignorance while penalizing intelligence. He observed that foolishness, especially in politics and society, frequently triumphs over reason, profoundly influencing historical trajectories. Russell's critique of society's reverence for populist simplicity echoes the warnings of Bonhoeffer and Arendt. Yet Russell extended the argument by highlighting how modern political and social structures not only tolerate, but actively incentivize ignorance. In a world where complex issues are reduced to catchy slogans, the public is lured into adopting superficial solutions that fail to address deeper realities. Russell warned that political leaders who offer simple, digestible narratives often succeed more readily than those who provide nuanced, thoughtful analysis. This dynamic breeds a society where intelligence and reason are seen as burdensome, and shallow beliefs are exalted. The psychological comfort offered by stupidity, simple, black-and-white narratives that offer clear answers, stands in stark contrast to the discomfort that often accompanies critical, nuanced thought. While reason demands effort and introspection, stupidity provides a false sense of security. Russell's analysis, although rooted in mid-20th century observations, rings true in today's digital landscape, where misinformation and oversimplification prevail. In the age of mass and social media, the rapid dissemination of ideas has only deepened the tendency toward ideological echo chambers. Individuals are frequently exposed only to viewpoints that reinforce their pre-existing beliefs, further entrenching groupthink. This relentless bombardment of sound bites and simplistic narratives makes it increasingly challenging to engage in genuine critical thought. In such environments, intellectual laziness is not only common, it is actively cultivated. Russell's observations on the triumph of foolishness over intelligence serve as a powerful admonition. When societal systems reward ignorance and stifle dissent, the consequences can be dire. Russell also explored how political systems often label intelligence and critical reasoning as subversive or dangerous, especially under authoritarian regimes, where independent thought is suppressed and dissent is punished. In these contexts, intelligent individuals frequently find themselves at odds with prevailing ideologies and are consequently marginalized. This cycle not only devalues intelligence, but also creates fertile ground for foolishness to flourish. In Bonhoeffer's analysis of the link between stupidity and authoritarianism, Russell highlights the central role of intellectual passivity in sustaining oppressive regimes. His critique serves as a clear call to recognize and resist the societal mechanisms that perpetuate ignorance. Stupidity, as both an individual failing and a contagious social phenomenon, spreads rapidly through societies, bolstered by repetition and social reinforcement. Irrational ideas gain traction when they are endlessly repeated, fostering a false legitimacy that discourages critical examination. In today's media environment, where anyone can broadcast information, the distinction between fact and fiction grows increasingly blurred, making independent thought ever more challenging. The sheer volume of information often pushes individuals toward the simplest, most familiar answers, rather than prompting deeper analysis. Social dynamics play a crucial role in this contagion of stupidity. Humans, as inherently social beings, are deeply influenced by their desire for belonging. Social groups, whether political, religious, or ideological, tend to normalize certain beliefs while discouraging independent reflection. In polarized societies, where group identity is tightly bound to ideological purity, the pressure to conform becomes so intense that individuals cease to think independently, fearing social rejection or alienation. This collective mentality fosters shallow, uncritical worldviews that deviate significantly from reality. Authority figures, too, condition us from a young age to accept information without question. From teachers and parents to political leaders, the expectation to obey is instilled early, often at the expense of critical thought. Even in democratic societies, deference to authority can lead people to accept ideas uncritically. When leaders make pronouncements on complex issues, many choose to defer rather than scrutinize the logic or evidence behind them. This uncritical acceptance poses a significant barrier to independent thought, as individuals increasingly rely on the views of others to define what is true. The social contagion of stupidity is thus twofold. It both spreads irrational beliefs and stifles intellectual diversity. When a group collectively embraces unexamined ideas, it becomes nearly impossible to challenge those notions or consider alternative perspectives. This intellectual homogenization paves the way for groupthink, where consensus is valued over the independent inquiry, stunting progress and deep debate. Breaking free from this cycle of stupidity requires a deliberate commitment to independent thought. Cultivating a mindset that prizes questioning, curiosity, and skepticism is crucial. Individuals must learn to interrogate information, challenge its source, logic, and evidence, and be willing to step outside their comfort zones. The journey to intellectual growth is lifelong, requiring continuous learning, self-reflection, and openness to new perspectives. In a world where stupidity can spread like wildfire, these intellectual tools are essential to safeguard our ability to think for ourselves and contribute to a more discerning society. The ideas of Bonhoeffer, Arendt, and Russell offer a powerful blueprint for resisting the cycle of stupidity. Their insights underscore that the dangers of ignorance are not merely individual failings, but are socially contagious. By committing to lifelong learning, moral reflection, intellectual courage, and social responsibility, we can resist the pull of unthinking conformity. Only by fostering critical thought and encouraging diverse, independent perspectives can we ensure that reason and intelligence remain at the heart of our personal lives and our societies. In our contemporary landscape, rife with political, social, and digital pressures that favor simplistic ideologies over complex truth, the challenge is to nurture a culture of critical inquiry. Stupidity, whether manifested as passive obedience in authoritarian regimes or as a widespread social phenomenon in democratic settings, endangers not only individual freedom but also the collective future of society. It is incumbent upon each of us to cultivate the ability to question prevailing narratives, to critically evaluate the systems that shape our lives, and to maintain the courage to embrace uncomfortable truths. Ultimately, the battle against stupidity is not just a personal challenge, it is a societal imperative. Through education, intellectual curiosity, and an unwavering commitment to questioning authority, we can dismantle the forces that perpetuate ignorance and create a future in which thoughtful reflection, moral integrity, and critical thought are celebrated and rewarded. The enduring legacy of thinkers like Bonhoeffer, Arendt, and Russell is a call to action, to remain vigilant, to foster intellectual diversity, and to ensure that our collective future is guided not by blind conformity, but by the relentless pursuit of truth and reason. As we have seen throughout this discussion, the influence of stupidity permeates every facet of society, from political landscapes and social dynamics to personal beliefs. However, by understanding its mechanisms and adopting the lessons of these great thinkers, we can protect ourselves from intellectual passivity. It is up to each of us to become active resistors, questioners, critical thinkers, and dedicated learners, shaping a more enlightened future. If this video resonated with you, please subscribe to our channel, share this video with others, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Thanks for watching.